Southampton against Chelsea in another difficult away game for the Blues, as we will try to keep the momentum of 3 wins on the bounce going. Well, to me, there are 2 main questions. Do we go 4-3-3 or 3 at the back again? And will Callum Hudson-ODOI get his first Premier League start since returning from injury? I think he might. Hello there guys, and welcome back to Blues TV for another preview of mine on this channel as we head into the Southampton versus Chelsea game on Sunday afternoon, which I'm sure we're all looking forward to. And yeah, that is obviously what I'm previewing today. If you're new to Blues TV, please be sure to subscribe. Make sure you click the notification bell button and also drop a like on this video. That'd be massively appreciated. But now let's just get straight into it because there's no faffing about. And as usual, I will start it off by speaking about our opposition, and that of course is Southampton. They currently sit in 14th in the Premier League table on 7 points from 7 games with 2 wins, 1 draw and 4 defeats, and a goal difference of -4, scoring 7 but conceding 11 goals thus far this season. And to be honest, Southampton have kind of had a bit of a weird season so far, losing 3-0 to Burnley on the opening day, but then being kind of a bit silly not to at least get a point against Liverpool at home. Yeah, first half, okay, Liverpool dominated that game. From what I remember, Liverpool, while dominated, didn't really have particularly a lot of like big chances and stuff. And in the second half, Southampton missed absolute sitters not to at least, get a point, like I said, to at least get something from that game, especially very late on. Can't remember who it was, might have been Shane Long, but don't quote me on that one. Basically missed from inside the 5-yard box and just put it wide, 6-yard box and just put it wide. Like, strange, because that is a good performance that they didn't reward themselves with. They also had a decent 1-0 draw with Man United and the win over Sheffield, which especially away from home is not an easy, thing to achieve. But then losses to their South Coast rivals Bournemouth, and then last week away at Spurs they lost 2-1, which of course sounds more than acceptable, losing 2-1 at Spurs especially if you're Southampton. But Spurs were down to 10 men for a full hour when Serge Aurier was sent off after like half an hour or so. And then Hugo Lloris, the Spurs keeper, even gifted, Saints a goal to equalise at the time. But then a couple of minutes later they gave away, was it a penalty? Oh no, Harry Kane just scored from open play. And then second half, Saints just were not capable of basically taking advantage of being a man up. Of course, Spurs in the second half really basically just defended and made it really difficult for Southampton to create chances. But nonetheless, in that position, I'm not going to say you'd expect them to do better, but, I think Southampton are a good team with a good manager. I would have thought at least get a point from that Southampton, but they didn't in the end. So it is a bit strange. But generally, I just expected them to be a little bit better so far this season. I mean, the Austrian Ralf Hasenhüttl took over there last season as the new manager. They then, with him, managed to avoid relegation with some big results last year, like beating Spurs at home, for example. And he is a good manager, I mean, he did really good things in Germany. Obviously, me being Austrian, I know maybe a little bit more about him than some of you do. So I think he's a really good manager, and I think they will get better as the season goes on. I don't think they will stick around in the spots where they're in right now, in like 14th or so. I do think that they will move up a little bit higher. But generally, it's been a little bit strange. Tactics and formation-wise, they've mixed it up a lot so far this season. Frank Lampard also mentioned that in his pre-match press conference. They've used multiple, different formations. 3-5-2, 3-4-3, 4-4-2, and even a kind of 4-2-2 if you want to kind of talk in FIFA terms. So for defenders, obviously, 2 holding mids, then 2 wide, centre attacking mids, and then 2 strikers in front of them. So, it is very difficult. And Hasenhüttl isn't usually the guy to have his team sit back at all. Like, sit back and defend is not really what he does. He likes to press. He does like a counter press. He likes to be direct and quick on the break. And they tend to use their wide areas a lot as well. Whenever I've watched them play, that is a difficult one to see from stats. But whenever I've watched them play, they use their wide players a lot, whether it's Bertrand on the one side and Cedric Soares on the other side, especially their fullbacks. So that is interesting. They do have a couple of fitness doubts as well, such as right back Cedric Soares, who I just mentioned, and the new signing Musa Genepo, I think is how you pronounce it. The goalkeeper McCarthy should, as far as I'm aware, be back now. Whether he then plays or not, we'll have to wait and see. Probably not. But yeah, that is that. And yes, while we beat them 3-0 in the same fixture on the same weekend, by the way, which I was at last season, we can't go into this game on Sunday expecting a similar result. We can't be going into that expecting to absolutely smash them. They are a good team, but a bit like ourselves, they're kind of up and down. So, sometimes performing really well, sometimes not so much. So we'll just have to wait and see what kind of Southampton will be coming up against on Sunday. But we should definitely not underestimate them. And if anything, rather expect a tricky game, which is, the kind of approach that I'll be taking into the game. Just expect a difficult game, and then hopefully we get the win, which would of course be good. But to be honest, that was really from me talking about Southampton, I guess, and now getting into Frank Lampard's pre-match press conference. And there was a couple of interesting things today. First of all, he stated he's delighted Tammy Abraham and Fikayo Tomori's England call-up, alongside, of course, Mason Mount and Ross Barkley as well, which, congratulations to them for that. Hopefully they get game time as well. That would be good. He also confirmed that he was quite, all right with the fact that Callum Hudson-ODOI was called up to the under-21s of England rather than, the first team, or rather than just being left with Chelsea, which I personally would have preferred because I don't think he's been back for long enough to, doesn't need to. Just stay with Chelsea, train and get fit and everything. But, it is what it is. And then Frank Lampard gave us some not exactly surprising or shocking news, but just some interesting news that is now officially confirmed. And that is the fact that Jorginho is officially the club's vice-captain, which I'm sure was, some people will throw an absolute tantrum over now because, some people, for some reason, still absolutely despise Jorginho, which makes no sense to me. Great leader to me. Great player. Yes, he's not quick. We all know that. John Terry wasn't quick. No one had a problem with that, did they? Anyway, so I'm very happy with that. And once Reece James permanently replaces Cesar Azpilicueta as the right back, hopefully us playing a 4-at-the-back formation or a 3-at-the-back formation, Jorginho will be our captain. So, those of you that don't like Jorginho, tough luck, mate. Tough luck. And then lastly, the boss was asked whether, basically about N'Golo Kante's fitness situation. I mean, it's a tricky one because, of course, he played against Lille, which I wasn't, say the biggest advocate of ahead of the game. But then he did play it. Lampard said that Kante is fit to play, actually. He's not injured or anything. But it will still have to be decided in the next 24 to 48 hours whether he actually will play against Southampton. Because, while he, first of all, he hasn't played a lot this season. He hasn't had a pre-season. And he has had those multiple injuries. But he's also been called up to the French national team for obviously the upcoming international break after the Southampton game. So he is likely to play probably both games there. And then obviously Lampard, with the no pre-season, with the couple of minor injuries already this season, he says it is a situation that has to be managed, which I absolutely hate. I hate the fact that we might not play Kante for Chelsea just because he's going away with France and might play for them, which will hinder him for Chelsea in the long term. That's not how it works. We pay his bloody wages. It should not be the case that we are considering not playing him just because France will play him in the next 2 games. That is ridiculous in my opinion. But I guess it is what it is. And like I said earlier already, Lampard did say that he expects a difficult game against Southampton, a very energetic team. That really work really hard, and we need to be properly on it to go toe to toe with them on that front. And also what I said already, that they're very difficult to predict because they've used so many different tactics and formations so far this season already. So it's not going to be easy. But to be honest, that was really it from Frank Lampard and his press conference. And now coming to Chelsea. And if you saw my review of the Lille game in midweek, I wasn't best pleased with Lampard and the performance until we changed away from the 3-at-the-back formation. Some people got very, very angry at me in the comments and everywhere for me even daring to criticise Lampard and giving me all sorts of explanations as to why the 3-4-3 was a smart move to start with. And I just don't agree. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that I don't agree. I just don't like it. It just doesn't work in my opinion. And yes, I know Lille had very, very quick attackers and are very good in the break. But I'm a fan of trying to stop an opponent's counter-attack early with counter-pressing in a midfield 3 rather than making it piss easy for them to pass our midfield and then be attacking our back line. Because, a simple reason for that being is when we do win the ball back eventually, it is with our back line. We're so close to our goal and have a massive distance to cover to the opponent's goal. And the, further up the pitch you win the ball back, the less of a distance you have to, cover to get to the opponent's goal to create a chance for yourself to score. And, that just makes creating chances much more difficult. Plus, I just think the 3-4-3 overall, even when we control possession and everything, hinders our attacking play so much not to be worth the possible minor defensive improvement that it does give us. And people came at me saying, but look how many huge chances Lille had in the last few minutes of the game and Kepa had to make a couple of big saves. Yes, but those had nothing to do with the formation. Those were individual errors that could have happened in both formations. And also, Zuma made an individual error that led to a pretty similar chance, for Lille, as they did have late on when Kepa had to make a good save. It's not an explanation. I just don't like it. It just doesn't work in my opinion. You fine to disagree with me, but I'm going to just give myself that privilege to have that opinion. So if it was down to me, no more 3-at-the-back, on Sunday. Definitely not. But to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Lampard goes for exactly that again, seeing as Southampton do tend to use it quite a bit as well. And if they do against us, I can accept Lampard going for it. Because against the 3-at-the-back formation, I'm okay with us going for it as well. Simply because, it's the best, or not the best way, but one way counter it, as so many teams did against us when we used the 3 at the back formation every week under Conte, and then teams that usually never play 3 at the back did so against us, and then we really struggled against them. So, that is that. I would understand it, I would accept it, but I would personally still prefer a 4-3-3. And in that 4-3-3, I would of course have kept in goal 2 centre backs of Fikayo Tomori and Andreas Christensen. I hope Christensen will play again. I think the main reason why Christensen didn't start against Lille in midweek was simply because Lampard wanted the 3 paciest centre-backs that we had, and Tomori, Zuma, and as we certainly are all quicker than Christensen is, so I do hope and think that in a 4-3-3, Christensen will play next to Tomori again. Obviously, Alonso has to be at left-back because Emerson Palmieri is still out injured, and if he is fit enough, after almost playing 70 minutes on Wednesday already, I would start Reece James at right-back. I would start him. I think we have to blood him in at some point in the Premier League as a basic right back, not as a right wing back. So why not start Southampton? You might as well. And if if Lampard doesn't think that he's fit enough to play, a full game or to play at least 70 minutes again, then of course it just has to be Azpilicueta as the right back. Then midfield 3, of course Jorginho has to start there. Kante starts to his right if he is fine to play. If Lampard decides Kante doesn't start, just put Kovacic in that position, and then Mason Mount, in my opinion, should be the left centre mid. I think we can all agree that, okay, he had a great performance, or 2 great performances as the left winger in a couple of games, Wolves, and did he play left wing against Norwich? I think he did. He was great in those games, but other than that, he just seemed, in my opinion, his ability suits the midfield more. And just generally, I would rather see him in midfield than on the wing, because that's the position where I want to see him play long-term in midfield as a 10 or as an 8. So, I don't really see the point in him playing on the wing constantly when we have other wingers. So that is my midfield 3, Jorginho, Kante and Mount, or Jorginho, Kovacic and Mount, depending on whether Kante plays. And then with the front 3 of Willian on the right, there is obviously we aren't sure whether he picked up a minor injury against Lille when he came off, because he was on the ground, and we're not sure whether he maybe pulled his hamstring a little bit, or whether he was just dead tired at the end. Lampard didn't speak about it, Lampard wasn't asked about it, so we don't know at this point, but he's probably fine. So Willian on the right, and Callum HUDSON-ODOI, I would give his first Premier League start since his injury, and start him on the left wing. I think, it's time. He came on, had a good impact against Brighton, came on, had a good impact, against Lille, assisted the winner against Lille, assisted the deciding, just sealed the game with the 2-0 against Brighton. So in my opinion, he warrants to start now, and I hope that is what he gets. And then obviously Tammy Abraham still has to be up front. He just doesn't deserve to be benched at the moment, and unless he's very tired, which would surprise me, he just has to start. It's as simple as that. In a 3-4-3, of course, the 4-3-3 you can see over here. In a 3-4-3, which by the way, I would only ever consider if Reece James and N'Golo Kante are both fine to start. If they're both not, then I wouldn't even contemplate going 3-4-3. But if we do, I'd go with this one over there, basically. So that is Kepa in goal, of course, still a back 3 of Tomori, Christensen and Azpilicueta in that order. Alonso is the left wing back. Again, Emerson isn't back yet. Reece James is the right wing back. Kovacic and N'Golo Kante as the 2 central midfielders, because I believe that in a midfield 2, in a 3-4-3 formation, we need the legs in there if we do want to play a midfield 2. I think that Jorginho is just a little bit too slow for that. I think even with Kovacic and Kante in there, we're just way too easy to bypass in midfield, but it might be a little bit better than it is with Jorginho. But then, of course, still keep an unchanged front 3 with HUDSON-ODOI on the left, Willian on the right, and Tammy Abraham starting up front. And yes, I do realise that I would have both Mason Mount and Jorginho dropped, even though I don't really want either of them to be dropped, hence why I don't really want to play the 3-4-3. But if we have to go 3-4-3, this is what I would pick. Although personally, I think that even if Lampard does go, with the 3 at the back, Jorginho would probably keep his spot next to N'Golo Kante, even if I think Kovacic would then suit it slightly better. But yes, I actually wouldn't start Christian Pulisic in either formation. I do hope that he makes the bench though and comes on. I think that would be good, but I wouldn't start him. I know a lot of Pulisic fans are fuming at, or just a lot of fans anyway, fuming at him not playing more, not playing over Pedro. I agree with that. He should be playing over Pedro, but he shouldn't be playing over Willian. He should arguably not even be playing over Mount on the wing, actually. And we definitely shouldn't be playing over HUDSON-ODOI either. So, he wouldn't start for me. And tactics and approach-wise, it's the same as I always say, really. I kind of repeat myself in the previews every time I talk about this. Use the counter-press, quick passing, maximum movement, and 100% concentration. Plus, ideally, some better set-piece defending. It would be fun if we didn't concede from a set-piece this time round. And, of course, good finishing. I mean, the movement and the quick passing will create chances. It does, that's a fact. So if we do that, we will create chances. But there's no point if we don't end up finishing those. So, let's do those. We were pretty okay with that, I guess. Against Lille, we didn't have that many huge sitters. Against Brighton, could have done a bit better. But especially the games before that, finishing wasn't on. We could have made things a lot easier for ourselves and got better results. So, you know, let's take the chances on Sunday. That would be good. And generally, we're a better team than Southampton. If we play close to our ability, we will win. But like I said, let's not underestimate them. But to be honest, I'm rather confident that we will get the win. And, you know, my score prediction is going to be a 2 or a 3-1. I'm going to go for a 3-1, but it could be a 2-1 as well. I'm not 100% sure which one I would personally rather go for. But to be honest, guys, that has been it from me. I really do hope that you enjoyed the video. I do hope that you found it informative. And yeah, if you did enjoy it, if you did find it informative, please be sure to drop a like. If you got this far, if you made it this far, you know, really, there's nothing... It doesn't, like, if you made it this far, please just drop a like. It's literally, just go down below, smash that like button. I would massively appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to Blues TV if you haven't already. Be sure also to click the notification bell button and choose to be notified about all uploads so you don't miss any of our future videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Can't wait for Sunday. And I'll see you when I see you.